Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to a new episode of the Kevirsyle Network podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Davis. You guys know me by now that I'm an entrepreneur and have so many hats. And I don't know, I feel like spell them all out because I'm too tired to explain it. But welcome to the show, Mr. K. Enders, who is an author of an amazing book called The Dragon Swarm. Welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Thanks, man. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Heck yeah, brother. And I know this has been like months in advance now. We're finally face to face, technically. But before we get down to the nitty gritty, tell us a bit who is Mr. K. Anders and what's your genesis, as I've asked people, like what's your origin story because we know we're storytellers. So it's like, what's like your origin story?
Right. Whew, I've been writing for a long time since I was in high school. When I was in high school, my friends and I used to make like full length movies. So that's kind of what I started writing, and we'd be out there, with the VHS camera because this is like we're talking like
Oh,
1980s, right? So
yeah,
we're out there with the VHS camera writing stuff, and editing it like with the primitive tools and stuff, trying to splice scenes together and stuff. So that's kind of how I started out. Um,
wow,
and all comedy, of course, just comedy. Monty Python ripoffs. We did like a full length Monty Python style Robin Hood, which I still joke that
jeez.
Robin Hood Men in Tights kind of stole our thing. I swear we even used some of the same jokes that they ended up putting in that
Yeah, of
movie.
course they
But
did.
yeah, so that's kind of how I started. Went to college, did an English minor, and with some creative writing in it. And I wrote a short story in college, which ended up getting published in the literary journal about a psychiatrist.
Thank you.
And yeah, so that was actually my first publication. And then I ended up doing medical school, which kind of turned off the right brain, turned the left brain on. And that's how I rolled for, I don't know, 12 years, 15 years, 20 years. And I was talking to my brother one day after COVID hit, and people are sitting at home, nothing to do. My brother's like, "Hey, man, I think I'm going to write a book." So I was like, "That's cool. What are you going to write a book about?" And he's like, "Oh, it's going to have these dragons and stuff. And it's going to be like this." And I said, "Oh, it'd be really cool is if your dragons weren't actually dragons." And he was like, "Nah, but you should write that." And I was like, "Maybe I will." And so I started writing it, and then of course it went a completely different direction than I expected it to go. And my
That tends to
dragons are
happen
are still
when you
kind of
write stuff.
right. My dragons ended up being kind of dragons and stuff, but that's what got me started. So I ended up writing this book, Dragon Sworn, and it was 150,000 words, just a tome, and maybe longer actually. And then I sent it to some publishers, and they were like, minimal interest. We kind of like it. We kind of don't. We're going to probably go no, but we like it, and we think you should follow up with this kind of feedback. So I went and got a developmental editor, and named Christine Nielsen. She was like, your problem here is that you don't have a book. You have a trilogy masquerading as a book. She's like, you need to, expand this, make it longer, turn it into a trilogy. And I was like, okay. So at that point, I split it up and started rewriting. And of course, the whole book changes again because I have to put in all this extra stuff. And I'm like, now the book goes this way instead of that way, and changes and changes and changes. Um, in the meantime, while I'm doing that, I start writing short stories because I need to do something. I found out there are these things called open calls where you can write a short story and just send it in. And if they like it, you get published in the anthology, right? So I started doing those and actually learned how to write a little better, a lot better, improved my craft significantly. So then I was kind of working on the novel. I'm like, oh, I learned this. I should go back through my novel and put all, fix all these problems. And then they just kind of kept going and going. And then finally I got it to the point where I was like, man, I think this could actually be like ready to go again. So I sent it to Jumpmaster, and they're like, yeah, we love this book. We're going to get it. and there you go. That's how I got started. And
Well, what was like the moment when you first realized you wanted to become an author?
I don't know that like I was ever like, oh, I really want to be an author. I just kind of like always liked creating fun stuff, whether it was the movies that we made, or if it was just whatever. I just like kind of like, let's get this on paper, and I'm going to create this, or I'm going to create that. And I never really thought of like, I'm going to do this author thing as a career. It just kind of like, I'll write this book and see how it goes. And then it was like people liked it, so maybe I should write another book. I have this idea, and so it was more like I just doing what I do, which is trying new things, and that's kind of how it turned out.
Yeah, that's kind of how I kind of started out with writing stuff. Growing up, I freaking hated writing with a passion. Actually, especially in school, like especially high school, we have to writing like long papers and stuff.
Mhm.
But it was like my ninth grade year, in like my history class, after American history class, it's where my teacher graded us from a level 1 to 5. I was like, for me, I was a nonchalant kid. I was expected to be like a 1, which like you need a lot of help. Like you need a lot of help. And like a 5 is like you're there, like at professional level. I was a level 3 after my first paper. And my teacher
Nice.
says, "You have the gift of writing. I just want to push you to that professional and beyond level." And I looked at him. I was like, "Me?" It's like, "Are you sure? Like, you're talking to the right person." He's like, "I freaking hate writing." And then I tell my mom about it, and she flat out tells me, "If you think about the thing you hate the most, you're actually really good at." And it's like, of course, mom with the wisdom. But then there's also the moment I found out my mother's a writer too, because she had poetry she has never published, and she let me read her murder mystery book. And I was like, holy smokes! So you're telling me this is potentially in my blood, and I got it from her. And she let me read her murder mystery book, and from that day forward, I was like, I want to do this. I'm like, can it's like you like the imposter syndrome kind of sneaks in a bit, but
Mhm.
with the question, like, but can I do this? Should I do this? And like so many questions, and then I just went for it and was like, yes, I can do this because I want to create something cool. It's like I'm tired of like these Hollywood rehashes or like reboots that's constantly coming out so many times, every 5 minutes. And it's
Mhm.
like if I like, why should I wait for a story that I want to see when I can just create it myself somehow?
Yeah.
So I spent years trying learning what my craft is as a writer. And it's like, what should I write? What story do I want to tell? What do I want to see presented? And so I started out with novel. I wrote my first novel. Well, it was about my life. It was about my life. I published it in like 2020, but 2023 I took it down because going back on it, I was like, I wasn't ready yet for that. I was like, I wasn't in a good position to really put that out. So I rushed it, and so I took it down. And so now 3 years later, this year, I'm finally picked it back up, and I'm actually deep diving back into it. Where now it's still about my life, but it's also my poetry book, and basically how I became the man I am today. From a nonchalant kid to an entrepreneur, and you show them like it's okay if you're like in this position, you will get better if you uh, open up and like be able to articulate how you feel. Like, don't go down the path I did because I nearly went to jail. But if you're in this position, just make sure and like don't wallow in that position because you will go down a rabbit's hole that you will take a while to get yourself out of. And so that's why I became a creator because I love creating awesome things like you. And
Yeah.
I love storytelling, and I want to get people from children to adults like get back to reading. Like I don't care if it's a comic, a novel, a freaking magazine for all God's sakes. I just want to get people back to reading. There's one that's too much media around the world going on, and it's just too much of a headache. And I feel like creativity has not been really good lately because we're following so many social media post that's not accurate, and then like people lose. Basically, I feel like people lose their brain cells if they follow too much social media. If I'm going to be honest about it, and so growing up, what kind of stories like inspired you? Um, um, like fantasy, horror, drama, whatever. Like what kind of stories like inspired you growing up?
Right. So I was a big fantasy reader, right? Like I read Tolkien probably 3 times
Oh yes, another
before I
Tokyo.
graduated, right? Before I graduated from college, right? So I grew up on that stuff, loved that stuff for sure. Um, the other stuff, Monty Python, man, I was like just big into Monty Python. My friends, we all did Monty Python. We memorized the movie. We could do it, almost word for word. So they're probably one of the hugest influences. And you read any of my
I haven't read Monty Python
work,
in so long.
when there's some comedy stuff, you're gonna see that, like Monty Python, just a little bit maybe working in
Yeah.
there. I actually wrote a short story that was published in one of the Raconteur Press anthologies. It was like a sci-fi thing, and it's like, man, it's so Monty Python. I'm like, this is Monty Python meets Doctor Who, and here you go. And
Crazy thing is, I have never watched Doctor Who yet.
oh, really?
Yeah, I never watched Doctor Who.
It just got
So,
canceled. I think I saw they finally were like, okay, we're done with it, or at least the holiday special coming up or something. They were like, we're done with it. I don't know what happened, but
yeah, I see a whole
I think it was
department
going
about
downhill.
that. Yeah, some like they some like Doctor Who may not be back like another 5 years or so. I don't know. I was like, I've actually never watched it, and I was like, I hear so many about the different doctors and how which one's the best one and stuff. I was like, I've never seen any of them, so I don't know. I can't even debate it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
um,
It's like trying to choose who's the best Bond. They were all good
right.
for their own in their own way, right? I mean, no one beats Connery, of course, but they're all good.
Right. And like speaking of, I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, I got tired of James Bond after a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, there was too many of them.
Too
I mean,
many.
I've seen all the Daniel Craig James Bonds, even though I fell asleep on his last one, the Spectre. I think it was called Spectre. I fell asleep on it because it didn't catch. If a movie don't catch me like in the first 5 to 10 minutes, I'm just bored with it. But Spectre, I felt like it was just drawn out too much. I was like, you actually, my Skyfall, I had a blast with. I was like, oh, it's fine. I'm like, you could have left it right there. But then Spectre came out. I was like, okay, I'm just bored out of my mind with it. I saw the Pierce Bronson, I think is his name.
Brosnan.
Thank you, Brosnan. I saw his version. He's so smooth with it. I'm not gonna lie. That dude is such a smooth actor. He's one of my favorites. But I think that's like the only ones I saw. The James Bond. Um, but yeah, I kind of do a lot of James Bond. I know Amazon is trying to do another reboot of it. I was like, why? It's like let's
Yeah.
leave it. I'm like, leave it. Do something else. But that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
You said fantasy show, like your overall favorite genre, right?
Yeah, I think so. I would say so. I go through spurts where, I'll get kind of on a sci-fi kick, and I'll do like the real life military stories of our soldiers who write books about their experiences. I read a lot of that kind of stuff too. But fantasy is always what I come back to. It's kind of like that comfort food. Like need a good fantasy book.
Heck yeah. And speaking of fantasy book, let's get into your amazing book. I saw the cover, Dragon Sworn. You have the poster right there behind you. Can you show
Yeah. Let's see.
I can zoom in on you.
Yeah. I
Right.
don't know if you can see it. We'll move it close. There it is.
There we go. There we go. Right there. Dragon Sworn, everybody. And tell us a bit about Dragon Sworn and how did you come up with this beautiful story?
Right. So I basically just kind of started off with this idea that there was a guy who was going to work on behalf of the dragons. And I originally called it The Vassal when it was that 150,000 plus word tome. I called it The Vassal because the main character, John, he essentially he works for the dragons. They're not really around. He kind of does their bidding. It's a proxy. He's their proxy. They're like, hey, you know, you need to go do this, and he goes and does it. So he's kind of like their fixer, their everything guy. But the thing that he really does, and the thing that this book is about, is he is the guy who trains the heroes that participate in this trial for them. So they're looking for the ultimate hero, and they're gathering all these heroes that can pass the trials because they have this upcoming prophecy where things are going to get bad and they need their hero. So John was the first one, and then they're like, let's keep this guy around and have him train all of our other guys. So the story starts off with, hey John, we got this new guy, his name is Aston. He is going to be our hero for this go around. We need you to get to him, prevent him from getting killed by the other team, who are the proxies for the enemy. And you got to find him, you got to train him, you got to get him to the trials. And so John's like, okay, well, I'd really like to do that for you guys, except for I have all this personal stuff over here which I'm working on, and it's kind of about revenge for me, because I've been around a long time and I've been fighting this team for a long time, the bad guys, right? I've been fighting the baddies for a long time. We've got bad blood between us. And I'm really more just interested now in getting back my own than I am about your whole trials thing, And they're like, well, this is like the most important one, and maybe the last one. He's like, I kind of see where you're coming from, but I gotta get this stuff sorted out. So the book is basically him trying to like do his job and do the right thing and get asked and trained, but he's also really just kind of a loose cannon. He's trying to find his own way. He's trying to get his revenge and, kind of have it all. And he's trying to balance those things with a psyche that's been around for thousands and thousands of years now. And he's starting to lose it, frankly, right? He's been around for so long. He's been through this. He's burned out a little bit on it. Maybe he doesn't fully buy into the process anymore. And he just has all these memories and all this trauma from thousands of years that are messing with him, and that plays a toll on him. So that was one of the things I explored, is what would it be like to just, because we see a lot of these, I'm immortal, I have inside me blood of kings, Highlander and all that stuff, and they're just, every once in a while they'll be like, oh, I've lost a lot of people, I don't know if I can get close, and then like 30 seconds later they're like, but I can get close to you, and I'm like, what happens? Like, what happens if this dude's really going through that stuff? And what happens to his mind? What's he thinking and that kind of stuff. So that was kind of like this under theme going through John's psyche the whole time. And then you get Aston, who's like, am I even a hero? He's got like, what's the word for it? The imposter syndrome, right? It's like, am I really even a hero here? Like, what am I doing here? And they're like, well, the dragons chose you, bro. So you must got something. He's like, well, I'm not seeing it. And John's like, we'll get you through. We'll find it probably. You'll probably be okay. You might survive this. And Aston's like, what? And anyway.
So it's kind of like you're trying to kind of humanize the character, make him like relatable in some way, kind of sort of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about the characters. For me, the story is the characters. The plot is the character arc. For me, the plot is the setting. The characters are the plot. And, that's one of the reasons why I kind of like the urban fantasy or, gaslamp fantasy or the different fantasies which are set in our own world. Because I like to be like, okay, it's our own world. We're not going to worry about all this, like creating a currency and, this whole other system. It's in our own world, and we're going to focus on the people that are involved here, right? Because that's really what I'm about is the characters and how they're going to interact and their arcs together. And so when you read this book, the characters, if they don't stick out to you, if they don't come alive for you, then, I haven't done my job. And, at the end you might be like, oh, wait, what happened? But these characters were great. That's kind of what I'm going for. But,
like one of the things I was always taught as a writer, that when you're telling your story, put your mind into your character. like how was it phrased? It's like um, when you writing your characters, make sure you write them. I can't find a phrase. When you're writing your characters, you like basically put yourself into your characters and write your story as you're that character. That's that what I'm trying to say. Write your story as you're the character, so you know where you want your characters to go. It's like you said, your character is your plot. I mean, your characters have to. You have to know where you want your character to go. So you have to deep dive, so it's like a soul searching thing, like into characters. And once it took me a minute to understand that, but since I started writing my stories, like this is actually posted up my first comic art fire, if you can see it a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that art earlier. It's
So like Arcfire, I kind of base my character Arcfire like on me, because Arcfire is on a journey of basically self-discovery, because he has this gift of power within him and trying to figure out how to control it, or like first of all what the heck it is, how he got it, and he also has no memory of who he is or where he's from. And so it's like it's based on me, because for a long time I didn't know who the heck I was as a man, as a person, as a creative, like as a human. So they're figuring out, I'm like, oh, this is what that advice meant, like putting yourself into your character and deep diving into make your story, making your character move your story. There we go. Make how your character move the story. Jesus, tongue twisters. Oh. And so when you was crafting Dragon Swarm, what was the moment where it came from an idea to a real project? When you was like, oh, I got it. Now I know what to do. It's like, oh, I can go this route. It was like to make it better. It was like what was that moment? It's like an aha moment.
Yeah, I mean, well, it comes through the whole thing, right? Like you start writing, and you'll write something, and then you'll just be kind of thinking about it, and then all of a sudden it'll hit you. You know, inevitably it's like you're doing something else and you can't even get on to write it down. So then you're like, I got to remember. I'm talking into my notes, you know, my little recorder, and I'm like, this happens in chapter 14. I'm just going to record, you know, and everybody around you looks at you like you're crazy, and you're like, no, really, I'm going to write this later. And, but it'll happen like all the time. And I would say a lot of times I'll write something and I'll be like, okay, yeah, that's all right. And then I'll be later on, and one of my characters will do something, and I'm like, now I have to go back and rewrite chapter 4, because now I understand why that character did this, and I'm gonna, you know, retcon it to catch up. So many things happen that way, where you're just like, okay, I'm writing something, and I'm like, oh, now I have to go rewrite this whole section, you know. Or one of the very first beta readers I gave the book to my wife's aunt to read, and she was like, hey, is this what's going on here? And I was like, well, it wasn't, but now it is. So I went back and changed that whole thing. And so I'm like, I see why you thought that, and I'm gonna play that up.
That's a way better idea than I thought.
Yeah. So yeah, I went back in and, you know, retconned it so that that fit. And so sometimes the beta readers help that way. Man, I don't know, you know, it just happens. It happens, and you sit in front of the computer and you write, and eventually you're like, oh yeah, of course that's what happens. You know, I was just writing this. I'm working right now on a historical fantasy novel, and I had a vacation, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write this battle scene on my vacation, because it's gonna be tedious, because I'm talking about Age of Sail, and I've got to have these pirate ships fighting, you know, the U.S. Navy in the early 1800s, and we're going to talk about the way ships move and the way cannons fire, and it's going to be really cool, but it's going to be super tedious because we're going to get into all these details. Wow. So I sat down and I start reading it, and I'm like, and the character goes below and has this long conversation with somebody while the fight's going on up there, and we're not going to worry about what happens, right? So So I'm like, it's what happened, and I managed to put in some of that stuff because I love that stuff. And I love talking about, oh, these cannons do this, and they got the bow chaser, and they got the cannonades, and they, and they're attacking into the wind. And meanwhile, I'm like, yeah, there's this big fight. Meanwhile, the characters were over here doing this while the fight was going on. So it just happens. I'm like, that was not what I intended, but it's better. So I'm going to go with that,
Right. And somebody made a comment. Carrie Sanders says, "It sounds like you do the same thing I do. Let the characters come to life, and then they torment you by telling you exactly what the plot is going to go."
Yeah.
They take it literally, yes.
For sure. Like you've got okay, I've got my beginning, and I know I got to get over here.
Yeah.
I had planned to do this, but what I ended up doing was this.
Yeah, that's literally me with like all my book, like from novels to comics. Like if you can see my laptop, I have so many tabs open of stories that I'm doing. There's like with my main series Arcfire, I had like this idea of like 20 issues in my head that I was gonna like write and produce. But now, like restructuring everything in my company and like the way I want to do stories, I'm turning 20 issues into like multiple like a 3-volume trade paperbacks. Whereas one arc in volume 1, another arc in volume 2, another arc in volume 3. So you want like 20 issues I have to print all the time. Where I can just do like three paperbacks of arcs. I was like, so I'm like, yep, I'd rather do that because as I was writing it, I was like, wait, this actually flows better because I'm like, because I got my character in my head, or I'm in my character's head at the same time. However that works. I was like, shit. I was like, this will work so much better because like my character took control as I kept writing it. I was like, that makes it so much better now. And I have a friend that actually reads my scripts now. I was like, and he gave me awesome questions. I'm like, if you didn't ask questions, I didn't do my job right. But the fact you have like a lot of questions, I'm doing my job right with the amazing feedback I get. And so like now I know how to structure better, have a better flow, and not have it like go diagonal. That makes no
right.
sense. So it's.
I mean, it's got to go by the structure, right? Like it's got to work. Yeah. The pacing has to work. You have to hit the overall structure, but your characters can kind of take it in a different direction than you expected and stay in that structure.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the fun of it.
And like I'm a big like horror, fantasy, science fiction fan. Arcfire started out as just a science fiction story, but then as I kept writing it, it turned into a science fiction mixed with horror, fantasy, and like different types of genres. And so now like I'm mixing multiple genres together, but I need to clinch it so it actually can flow better.
Yeah.
And I'm 2 issues in. Like now I know where because I want to make sure it's grounded, but also because I don't want to do like over the top stuff like that doesn't make sense. Like I don't want to do like a Fast and Furious thing. It makes no sense. But I want to entertain, but also make sure the story actually makes complete sense because there is because I have vampires in it, I have witches in it, and I have different type of creatures that I have in the story too because my mind goes crazy and weird. And then I have fantasy characters like phoenixes, and then I have like hybrid characters and so it's hard. It's science fiction, but it's also hard, but it's also fantasy. So it's a mixture of different things. Because I also want to make sure Arcfire is safe for pretty much anybody to read. Like even kids can read it. So I would say about maybe 14, 15 and up for Arcfire. Because there is like moments that kind of gets a bit more intense. The younger I won't really able to grasp it, but I try to at least keep it balanced and make it. I'm like, don't worry, it's not like crazy curse words, and I'm not James Gunn. I actually I don't put like random curse words in there for you.
Yeah.
I don't do nudity. I mean, that's oversaturated. It gets on my nerves. It's disgusting. So I try to. So I finally found that balance. Thank God. And so now I'm getting a better flow, and now I'm gonna get the third act of Arc 1 started soon as I edit the script and get feedback from actually a beta reader. that's someone I can trust and that can be honest about the story, make sure it makes sense before I say it's my artist and everything. Um, and now back to you. What have you learned so far about publishing that surprised you the most?
About what?
About publishing, like
Oh, publishing.
about publishing that surprised you the most?
Oh man, I mean, I didn't know. I really didn't know much about publishing at all when I started this. It was just kind of like, I've got this book now. What do I do with it? And I'm like, hey guys, I got on this writer's, writer guys, that book. What do I do with it? And they're like, well, first of all, what genre is it? I'm like, it's mostly fantasy, and they're like, oh well, try sending it here. And they're like, do you have an agent? And I was like, no. So basically I started with people that I could just send it open calls. If they had a slush pile, I'm like, I could just send it to the slush pile. So that's kind of how I started looking to get published. What was the most surprising thing? Man, I don't know. It was all just so new that I guess it was like, should that surprise me? I don't know. I just didn't know it before, and now I do. And Jumpmaster, of course, published Dragonsworn, and they function a little more like a traditional publisher than some of the newer small publishers, because everything is time, right? So I've written book 2, actually. It's done. It's at beta readers. Beta readers are digging it. In fact, some of them said it's better than book 1. So I was like, ooh, it should be, because I've been working for 3 more years now in this, right? But and I'm like, hey, I've got it. And they're like, great, we'll get it out next summer sometime. And I'm like, okay. Patience, I'm waiting. So just maybe that's it. Maybe it's just the amount of time that everything takes. Because a lot of, especially the indie authors now, they're like, man, I'm putting out a book every month. I'm like, okay, that's a lot of books. First of all, with a day job, I'm not gonna ever put out a book a month, but I was like kind of expecting it to go a little faster, and then they're like, yeah, it's, we got all this process, we got this, we got to go to the editor, we got to get this, we got to do this, we got to do this, man, it takes time, what do you want? And I'm like, okay, that's fair, I'm just gonna relax over here, I'm gonna try to relax over here. But yeah, it takes time to do it. If you're gonna go through good publishers, everything takes time, and I think maybe that could have been the most surprising thing.
Yeah,
I guess is just how long it all takes.
Oh yeah. That's why I started my own publishing company, because I didn't trust nobody. If I'm being honest, but I'm slowly getting to that traditional publishing way, because I'm learning editing myself, and I publish a few of my friends in my company now. I'm slowly getting edit myself, edit myself, but sometimes I need another person that's more experienced than me to edit better than I can do. But it's definitely a timing thing. Plus, you have to build the interest of a potential audience. The marketing has to come into play, and like the editing makes sure your book is sharp, ready to go. You got to get the cover art, make sure there's no typos.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff, and frankly, that was one of the main reasons why I decided not to go indie. Was I just wanted help doing all the stuff. I'm like, let me write the book, and Jumpmaster, of course, encourages us to get out there and talk about our own books and go to fairs and cons and things, so there's marketing involved, even through a publisher. There's a lot of that going on, but I'm like, I just want help putting everything together. I don't have the expertise, I don't have the time for that. I'm like, let me write a book, and you guys do this other stuff over here. And some of my indie friends are like, man, you're giving away this money. I'm like, they can have that money, because this is not worth it to me to spend all this time doing that. I just don't have the time for it, nor do I want to go through those tedious processes, which they do for me, and they're great guys. They do a great job. My book looks fantastic. So yeah, they're worth every penny, and
Oh yeah. And then you have to
it
format
is
the
what it
book, make sure
is.
it's the print size,
Mhm.
and then you have to print copies. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely a tedious
yeah,
process, but it's worth it at the end
yeah.
when you see your physical copy of your book, and then you like, I
Oh
made
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Now it's time to get it out there and tell people who I am. Like when you got your first copy of your book, how did you feel about it? Because when I got my first copy of my comic, I was like, I feel like a kid again.
Dude,
Oh my god.
it was like that, right? It's like Christmas. You're like, oh, here's my book, and then you get and then you get hit with the imposter syndrome over the head. You're like, oh, I hope people like this book. Did I
Yeah, that
did I
part.
really write this? Is this good enough?
Yeah, it feels like a
But
fever dream.
but you're like, this is my book, and then you get like notices as it starts to come out, and they're like, you're on Amazon and you get the thing from Amazon. It's like Kay Anders, Dragonsworn is now available on Amazon, and I'm like, really?
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, I'm gonna have to get that. Um,
Oh,
so
and I just want to shout out your website. It's in the comment section,
mm,
thebastler.net. You actually can check out Kay Andrews' stuff
yeah,
and what he does. Actually,
and
make sure
yeah,
I shout
and
this
I
out.
made that. It's not special. One of these days, I'm gonna get somebody to do it professionally. But it does have links
It looks
on
beautiful.
there to my social medias and stuff, and it has like a list of all the books, anthologies and stuff that I've been in, and what's coming out next, and that kind of stuff. So,
And I want to deep dive back into Dragon Sworn. First, what inspired the world and war of the story? I think you kind of pitched it. I mean, I think you talked about it a little bit, but like, what's like the deeper meaning of the world in the story? Like, what inspired the lore?
of the war.
The lore, like
Oh, the lore.
yeah, the lore of
Yeah.
the story.
So, like I was saying, there's sort of this proxy war going on Earth, right? You've got the dragons, and then the enemy is the covens. So they're those warring factions, but they are doing it through humans that live on Earth that have the capability of using magic. So they've basically kind of having this, they feud with each other for recruits and stuff, and then they sort of fight this proxy war because both sides are kind of trying to develop their talent pool. They're trying to find their heroes and that kind of stuff. And you'll find out, and I don't want to give too much away because there's a lot of politics going on between the dragons and the covens, and there's this sort of deeper level story that's going on across the whole arc, right? So Dragonsworn is book one of at least a trilogy, and I have planned to do more than that. I've got the third book half written, and then probably a second trilogy to finish the whole thing off.
Well, that
But
was my
this
next question.
this
So,
oh yeah,
next question
the,
was like, if there's going to be a trilogy or will there be more of this universe? So, you actually
I
get into my next
I'm
question.
thinking two trilogies. Like I said, the first trilogy is almost completely done, even though it's going to take that time to get it out.
Yeah,
Um, because the first trilogy was essentially that 150,000 books, give each book 50,000 books or 50,000 words,
okay.
150,000 words, split it into three, write a whole book out of each of those. So the first book is published, the second book is done, the third book is about half done. It's up to about 50,000 words now itself, and will end up at about 100,000 total. And then where that ends, it's kind of an ending, but I really want to keep taking it further, um, because it's gonna get more into that um, the, that dragons versus covens thing versus this proxy war that's going on. So you're kind of following the proxy war, and in the background there's these chapters where the dragons are talking and the covens are talking, and they're talking about this doomsday prophecy that's going on and this big war that's coming that the humans don't even really know about very much. But the humans are just trying to they're just trying to get it done. They've been told, I gotta go fight these guys, we got to accomplish X, Y, and Z, and meanwhile the dragons are playing 3D chess with them, and the covens are playing 3D chess with them. And so there's just a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of different storylines. Each character has their arc, and then there's the very obvious plot, and then there's the subplots, and then it's pretty complicated, actually. But I have an idea how I'm going to draw it all down in a total of 6 books, and I'm hoping it stays that way because I don't want to draw it out for readers any longer than that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Carrie asked a question. What do you feel like when you see an artist's interpretation of your writing?
You mean like the cover art and those kind of things?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's art. I think it's like art in general, like of your interpretation.
right. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of art of all my writing, but I do love what they did with John there on the cover. He's just like it's modern day, but he's kind of got this like stoic 50s. You could see him like kind of in the 50s maybe, and he's just kind of got that old school look, and he's just intense.
You gotta give me like the John Constantine vibe to him.
Yeah.
It's freaking dope.
So, like in some of my short stories have been published with Raconteur Press, and they have artists that do like Cedar Sanderson. She would put art through the book. So everybody who had a story in there had at least like a drawing or two, and some of them are pretty cool. I just love seeing it. You're like, oh yeah, that's how I imagined it, or that's not really how I imagined it, but I love that. That's what a good artist does, right? You're like,
oh yeah. As a creative, are you like more of a detailed planner or more of a write and discover the story as you go? Because like with me, sometimes I'm both, like depending on the story.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes I go straight into like the script writing because I know what I want, so I just like write it out my brain. Sometimes
Mhm.
other times I write an outline to like know where the characters I want to go, and where I want the ending to be, and like where I want the story arc to go. Like, are you more of a detailed, or are you like write and discover as you go?
Yeah, so when I write short stories, I just start with a sentence and go. I will have a concept in mind. A lot of times with the short stories, especially if you're writing to an anthology, there's a theme of the anthology, right? Like the anthology is like, write us a story about somebody who's in the military, but they're not a warfighter. They're a grunt. They're not a grunt, right? They're a pogue. They're a person other than grunt. Write us a story about them. And I'll be like, okay, so you kind of have this theme or idea going in, and I just write a sentence and I write a story and see what, and sometimes it works out. Sometimes I throw it away, but with the long form fiction, I can't do that because it does require me to do a little more planning. Otherwise you'll get lost. I tried the first novel I tried to actually write. I just got lost because I just started writing and it went in every direction. And it just came this thing where everything was like, too spread out. There was no focus. So even though I had sort of this plot idea, I had no idea where anything was going structurally. So what I learned is for long fiction, I have to kind of, I tend to write shorter chapters, right? So I tend to write 2,000 to 3,000 word chapters and then a lot of chapters. So I'll say, okay, I want 100,000 word book. I want 50 2,000 word chapters as a starting place. So I know I need to have Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And Act 1 is going to be like 25% of the book, and Act 3 is going to be 25% of the book, and Act 2 is going to be 50% of the book. So I kind of divide it up in that, and I say, okay, in Act 1, you're going to meet the hero, Chapter 1. Chapter 2, we're going to meet the bad guys. Or Chapter 2, we're gonna learn more about the hero. Chapter 3, we're going to meet the bad guys. And then Chapter 17, the hero accepts the hero journey. So I kind of write out that kind of thing, but I don't really outline any deeper than that. So I know when I get to Chapter 5, basically, the good guys and the bad guys are going to have their first little scuffle. And so I'm working towards that. And then when I get to Chapter 5, I'm like, okay, they've had their little scuffle. Now I'm working towards, the hero realizing that he needs to accept the hero journey. So how are we going to get from here to here? And what are the bad guys doing in the meantime? So then I'm going to kind of outline the next few chapters, knowing I need to get to that point. But each chapter is not an outline. Like when I sit down to write it, I'm coming up with a first sentence and I'm writing that chapter. And sometimes the chapter ends in a completely different place than I need to be. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm writing another chapter to get back in to where I thought I was going to be. So the answer is yes and no.
Yes, right. Yeah, got you. For new potential readers, give us your elevator pitch of Dragonsworn and why people should get it.
Can I read it?
Yep, you can.
Elevator pitch.
I'll see. Yep, I'll see. All
right. Heroes are chosen. Monsters are made. John Kincaid lived by one rule: serve the benevolent dragons who protect Earth from dangers beyond human imagination. Aston Spencer has a magic spark, but he needs John's help to learn the ropes and stay alive long enough to grow into his full potential. As the final days of the enigmatic Convergence prophecy arrive, this unlikely duo is called upon to save themselves and the Earth from a looming threat they can't begin to understand. The ruthless Coven wants them dead. The dragons want them ready to fight a war. In the end, vengeance isn't just a plan, it's a prophecy.
Let's freaking go. Let's go. Heck yeah, dude. There we go. Heck yeah, man. Dude, Dragonsworn looks like a freaking beautiful book. I'm gonna get it myself. Don't worry. I'm a fantasy nerd. And without spoiling anything, but could you give us a little bit of a tease of what the sequel will be about, if you can?
All right. No, I can. I'll talk about it a little bit. All right. So let me think about what I can say without spoiling anything in the first one.
Okay.
Essentially, like I haven't really made a secret of it. It originally started all as one book, and then I divided it up into 3 separate stories. Well, that is kind of like the 3 main phases of the hero journey, right? So in the first book, Aston comes into his own, and he realizes he wants to be this hero, and we kind of get to that point, you know. And then in the book 2, he needs his magic item, you know, he needs that thing. So we're going to go hunting it. And the title of book 2 is Dragonstone. So he's going to be looking for this, I call it an object of power, which is going to help him to win the ultimate fight, right? And book 2 also, I have some little teasers.
1 second. I'm sorry.
Yep.
And by the way, guys, I found Dragonsworn on Amazon. You can get it right here in the link in the comment section. Sorry, I just wanted to get that out right quick. Book 1 is on Amazon as he continues to tease book 2. But you can get book 1 now on Amazon. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So in book 1, one of the things that I like to do, which I learned on I don't even remember who told me this. I heard it on a podcast or something. So I like to just throw some random details into book 1, like throw a name or a place or something like that. And then in book 2, I'll come back to it and people are like, wow, how did he know in book 2 that he was going to do that? Right. So I did that. I threw some random stuff into book 1, and people, you know, who read it, they're like, hey, what about, you talked about this person in book 1. It's kind of interesting. And then you didn't come back to him. Like, okay. In book 2, we're going to like bring some of those stories in. I'm a big fan of flashback type stuff that has modern relevance. And like I said, John's been around a long time, right? So you're going to see flashbacks of his past that bring these other characters in that people are really interested in. And it's going to flesh those stories out a little bit more. You know, this is sort of John's old friends and where he came from, how he developed these biases and why he thinks the way he does about certain things. And one of the characters that I bring up in that one is Medusa. So I just kind of fly by it. I'm like, yeah, Medusa, blah, 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 blah. And, right. And people are like, wait, what? You know? So in book 2, you get that whole story where John interacts with a character named Medusa and how that legend kind of comes about. And like I said, one of my beta readers are like, this is the best part. I love the Medusa part. It's so good. But like I'm kind of making it fit in my own world. There's magic in this world. How did some of these myths end up as myths, right? They were real stories. They got turned into something that they weren't exactly, but there was something going on there. And that's the kind of stuff I love to play with, right? So it's just fun stuff. So a lot more of that kind of building, so a lot more history stuff of what's going on, and then Aston going after his dragon stuff, trying to look for that object of power.
Guys, get Dragon Sworn on Amazon right now. Book 1 is on Amazon. Link right here, as you can see on the screen, and in the comments. Dude, Dragon Sworn sounds fucking amazing. I can't wait to read this book, dude.
Yeah.
Before we hop off, first I want to thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.
Story. Oh, wait a minute. Bought and following. Oh, snap. Let's go.
Thanks. Let me know what you think.
Oh my God. That's freaking
hopefully you're going to love it.
Right.
That's what I always say. I'm like, I know it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, but I hope you're going to love it.
Heck yeah.
People have told me it's their favorite book, so.
Let's freaking go, man. Oh my God. Where can we follow you on social media and keep up to date about you, man?
Right. All my stuff is K Anders. If you go to that website, it lists. I'm mostly active on Facebook. I post a lot on Instagram. I'm on Threads a little bit. I'm trying to do more stuff on TikTok, but I'm old, and so TikTok is hard.
The Vassal, right. The Vassal.net is the website he was talking about, guys, where you can find all the socials.
Yeah, all my socials are at the bottom of the page. You can follow me on Amazon. It has my author page on Amazon, so you can follow me on Amazon. But mostly I'm active, like I said, on Facebook. I know that's for old people. Y'all are probably like on other stuff. I'm on Twitter too. Like once every 6 months I post on Twitter. I can't stand Twitter. Actually,
I can't.
Or X or whatever. I get on there, I'm like, it's like 99.9% politics, and I just don't want to. Anyway,
man, thank you again for coming on, man. And guys, if they watch, make sure you go buy his book. Like I said, it's on Amazon. And it's also, I think it's on jumpmasterpress.com as well.
Yeah, you can also get it from jumpmasterpress.com, especially if you're an ebook reader. You want to get it from them. Because you might find a difference in the price on Jumpmaster for the ebook.
Yeah, that part too. So,
yeah.
My little but you can follow me on Instagram at IamKWofficial. All my business tags on my bio, so I don't have to name them out. You can find me here at the Madness Entertainment Network on my Kevirsyle Network podcast. And I'm on TikTok, but it's Kevin Unfiltered Davis CEO on TikTok. But you should have that. I'm not on Twitter. I don't use that crap. But Kjell Anders, again, thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, man. This was a lot of fun.
Heck yeah, man. You come back anytime you want to, especially for book 2, 3, 6, 5, whatever you want to do.
Well, I got a book in a different series. Well, it's not a series. It'll be a standalone, possibly series, but it's written as a standalone, coming out in August, which is like a dystopian future, not dystopian, post-apocalyptic urban fantasy. It's going to be fun.
Well, we'll catch you guys next time. Like I said,
thanks for listening, guys.
Go buy his book, guys.
Thanks for buying the book.
All right. See you later, guys.
See.
If you missed the live viewing of any Madness Entertainment Group production, you can find all our content on Roku or as a member of this channel. We'll see you next time on the Madness Entertainment Group.